Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. If you missed it, last night we had an epic nearly 5-hour live stream, part 1, part 2, after last night's finale of The Bachelor. And join me were several notable guests and commentators from Bachelor Nation. If you didn't catch that live stream, we did have 2,200 people in the chat at once, with over 20,000 people watching that, but not everyone caught it. So if you didn't catch that 5-hour live stream, I'm going to share with you guys right now my clip talking with power spoiler godfather Reality Steve. Here's my conversation from last night, right after we watched the finale of The Bachelor with Steve Carbone. We've got so much to talk about. Let's bring in what I'm going to go with is the godfather of Bachelor Nation, Reality. Steve, how are you, my guy?
What's up, Dave? I mean, I haven't heard anything that you've said for the first 45 minutes, so I've got a lot of thoughts here, but man, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, I don't know. Ask me some questions. I'm better at asking than just, because I'll just start rambling.
Well, so you had, and by all means, respectfully, you had it spot on up until the end of Iceland. What more can you want?
Yeah.
You got all the way to Iceland, and then you said you'd be shocked if they got back together. How did they keep this a secret?
Yeah, I obviously did a good job of keeping this a secret. I guess that's one place to start. Is I wish Jesse would have gotten into more of, hey, how soon after Iceland did you contact him? How often have you guys seen each other? Just, I kind of want to know that stuff. Like, when did this start? Because it almost seems like, and then I think the biggest follow-up that Jesse totally missed out on was you literally made this, not saying staged performance, but let's face it, she told the guy, if you sleep with someone and tell someone you love them, that's a deal breaker for me. So if she really rekindled with him 2 weeks after leaving Iceland, Jesse's got to ask that. Like, hey, man, you know, Susie, what about, I'm so frazzled by what I just watched. Susie, what about this deal breaker that you had? You literally put us all through this and you walked away and we had to come knock on your door and we had to convince you to come back, and then you came back only to leave him standing there. And then 2 weeks later, you just took him back. Like, can we get an explanation as to what happened to your deal breaker?
Yeah,
like,
you know, this show spends 10 episodes milking storylines, you know, B-roll of goats and this and that. And it's like, give us an extra hour. Like, the show, this could have been half the season, it feels like.
I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, look, they have their own reasons, and they set it up on stage tonight that they think that there will possibly be some backlash, and there will be. But again, I'm sitting here just like, yeah, I don't understand it, and maybe I'm not supposed to, but I'm not going to sit here and root against them. I'm not going to be like, Susie, you're a moron, which is, I mean, I'm sure she's getting a lot of it. Like, why are you taking it back? And you know, the person that I just heard before I came on was, you know, you're rewarding bad behavior. Look, it's not my place to step in these people's relationship. If that's who she wants to be with, and that's who he wants to be with, and he's going to move to Virginia for her, that, you know, let's, you know, I'm not going to sit here and shit on them, you know?
Yeah,
just whatever.
She for sure has more to lose in the public perception. This is actually a little bit of a rehab for him, I think. How did you feel like he handled the Rachel and Gabby breakup kind of confrontations?
Okay. I've got some thoughts on this. I don't know if it'll be popular, but it's gonna sound probably worse than it is. Rachel and Gabby had absolutely every single right to say what they said to him on stage, and he deserved what they said to him on stage. With that said, I didn't enjoy watching it. Like, I had no problem with them spilling their heart out to him, because they didn't really. Gabby kind of did it on the way out the door in Iceland, but she had 3 months to sit on it, and that's what she needed to say, and I'm totally fine with her saying it. I'm totally fine with Rachel saying, I don't believe you, and I'm going to say all this stuff to you as well. And he responded, and she's like, I just don't believe you. I have no problem with that. But I was just putting myself in Clayton's shoes, and he just must have felt sitting on that couch, knowing that everybody in the audience was behind both of those women and clapping and basically wishing for his demise. I felt bad for the guy. I did. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. Like I said, I just felt bad that the guy's just getting pummeled on stage by, like, let's bring Clayton out. Gabby, go at him. Let's bring Rachel out. Gabby, let's bring Rachel, Clayton out again. Rachel, you have your way with him. Like, I totally understand why they said what they did. Please don't aggregate this and say, oh, reality Steve felt bad for Clayton. It goes deeper than that. I totally have I'm siding with Rachel and Gabby on what they told them. They had every right to. I just didn't think it was fun to watch. To be honest with you.
It's like,
it was like, God, getting old here.
Yeah, I'm the same way where, like, Red Sox fan, if the Red Sox hit a walk-off grand slam, I still feel bad for the pitcher. That's the pitcher in me. I'm like, oh, this guy just blew it, So yeah, you can be all happy. You can be happy that they worked on their stump speech. I'm sure it seems like Gabby was probably more eloquent and Rachel was like cutting. I was surprised her last question. Jesse says, you have anything left you want to say? She goes, did you say you love me to sleep with me? I couldn't believe she asked that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was great that she asked it. And while we probably all know what the true answer is, which is yes, he was never going to admit that on stage because he would have looked like the biggest jerk off in the world.
Boy,
oh God, he would have looked terrible.
That would have been,
especially.
Yeah, I was going to say that would have been the only thing that would have made this as surprising as it was billed. I don't know if it was as surprising as it was billed. I mean, they billed it as if the whole set was going to catch on fire. It was a good episode. What are your thoughts on if it lived up to the hype?
Well, that's the thing. I think when Jesse hypes things and the show hypes things, you got to remember they're not hyping it to the spoiled audience. They're not hyping it to the people that follow my stuff on a daily basis and have been reading everything for the last 4 months, because that's such a small percentage of their audience. They're hyping it to people that just watch the show on Monday nights and are familiar with the show. And when you break it down just to those people, you have something that's never happened in the history of the show. And they reiterated it tonight. The Bachelor left the final rose ceremony as a single man, and it's never happened. He's never been rejected before. So in that aspect, huge news to the person who just, average Joe, tunes into the show maybe in the last few episodes every season just to see, what happened. So that's kind of a big deal. Yeah, the Susie thing was certainly surprising. I did not know that. I thought he was single. And I said, yeah, I'd be shocked. I said, crazier things have happened. But personally, if you ask me, I think he's single, and I would be shocked. So yeah, I'm shocked that she's with him. And I just think there was just a lot. It was just a lot tonight with the parents there and the audience basically teaming up against Clayton. That's what I'm just saying. Like, he deserved what those women said to him, but put yourself, and nobody that was sitting there cheering was putting themselves in Clayton's shoes at that point, where it's like, how must it feel to be on stage and basically he had his pants pulled down in front of on a nationally televised audience. And it was just sucked to hear, but he did that to those women. So they had the right to do that to him. It just wasn't fun for me to watch as a guy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man,
you're right. When you bring in the public audience, it does add a little bit to it because it is going to be so one-sided. It's almost like when you have like a Republican guest on Bill Maher, maybe he makes a point and then everyone's like, boo. And it's like, all right, this isn't a fair audience. When it comes to,
he was never going to get a fair shake after what he did to Rachel and Gabby. And it was the thing that I reported. Like, he literally essentially begged them to stay at that final 3 rose ceremony, only to turn around 2 days later and be like, you know what? Nah, I really do love Susie. He had to have known, and each girl called him out for it tonight, which absolutely they were 100% correct on. Everything Rachel and Gabby said was 100% correct. Clayton, it's not like Clayton fought anything they said tonight. He's like, yeah, I totally screwed up. Should have handled things differently. I apologize. There's really nothing I can say at this point, 4.5 months later, that's going to do anything other than it's not even going to make you feel any better, probably. But I think both of them called him out for it, and just like, yeah, you might have said I want to be transparent, and you might have want to said all these things, but the bottom line is you obviously were holding back the one true thing that we would have bolted on, which was Susie was the strongest in your mind. She was the strongest in your heart. And you held that point back because you knew we would have left. And they were right. Absolutely right.
Do you think that he was trying to fool himself once Susie left? Do you think that he was trying to convince himself that he could make it with one of the other two, like as salvage?
I'm sure. I'm sure there was a part of them that thought that and probably thought, Susie went there. And plus, there's so many things going on behind the scenes with production that we just don't know. It's just, we know how heavily edited and heavily manipulated these shows are, and we're probably never going to find out the true story, because this Susie thing coming back to him after Iceland, which seemingly seemed like maybe a couple weeks later, it was almost like they told Susie, hey, for us to have a boffo ending, why don't you show up that final day, tell him no, but we'll let you contact him in a couple weeks. And you can say, we just want a crazy ass ending that we've never had before.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that producers said that to her and she agreed and this was like some sort of plan, but is it far-fetched to think that? No, it's not.
Yeah, and when these storylines happen, you do have to put on the tinfoil hat, and because you do know that they are trying to milk the biggest thing that they can. My thought was that if Clayton had any shot with Susie, it was they would share notes after the season, and he would maybe tell her how he was manipulated into all of that. Maybe he wanted to define the relationship earlier. He said that they told, make Susie go last. No, don't have the conversation about sex beforehand. Clearly they knew what when they look back at Peter and Maddie had that conversation before then. If you're a producer, you might go, you know what? We need to do whatever we can to keep them from talking about that beforehand. And I don't know if that's if they could be that sinister, but it really makes you wonder.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that it's probably something that Susie and Clayton will have to go to their grave with. Like, I don't think they'll ever reveal in any post-show interviews, whether it's on GMA or whatever. Maybe we'll start hearing some more stuff about when this started and how it all came about and how many times they've seen each other. But for any sort of storyline of, Susie was nudged in a direction of, hey, you can reject him at Iceland, but we'll let you contact him afterwards. I don't think that's far-fetched to think it happened. I'm not saying it 100% did, and I don't think we'll ever get an answer to whether it did or not. Honestly,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was done.
My favorite part of the whole season, and this, one of my biggest insecurities as a comedian is silence on stage. And my favorite moment of the season was Jesse Palmer saying, well, that's it for Clayton Echard. And then he took 3 whole seconds of silence, and then he raises the eyebrow. I thought he earned his old pay in that moment. I really enjoyed him teasing it.
Hey, outside of Jesse not asking Susie about her deal breaker, which is probably the biggest thing that he goofed on tonight, I thought he did a really good job. I mean, he sold it well. He's very comfortable in that role. I mean, but the thing is, I guess people outside of the sports world don't understand. Jesse Palmer has been hosting shows for literally 10 years. It's not like he got thrown into this because he was the Bachelor in season, 6 or whatever. Like, he's been hosting television shows for the longest time. A baking show. He's the Rooms to Go spokesperson. He did The Proposal. He did that surfing show this last summer. Like, he hosts shows. He knows what he's doing, and he's fine in that role. I have no problem with Jesse in that role.
That's what killed me. Oh, sorry, yeah. That's what killed me with Nick Viall when Nick goes, oh, so they're just going to hire some like football analyst. He was so flippant. God bless Nick. He was so flippant to this man's full career of on-air work. And I was like, first of all, a football analyst might be the best thing. Their brains are all over the place. They're watching 22 people on the field. Now all of a sudden you have one lady at a time coming out of the limo. This is nothing for Jesse Palmer.
People don't understand Jesse Palmer being a football analyst, whether it's in studio on ESPN or a game analyst as a color guy. As a color guy, like you said, you're watching 22 people, and then you get a 10? So you're not stepping over your play-by-play guy's toes. You get a 10 to 15 second window to speak and talk about formations, penalties, what went down in a 10 to 15 second window on something that's happening live. Everything that Jesse Palmer's doing on the show is taped. So anytime he screws up, we'll never see it outside of, the 2 live shows the last 2 nights, but I'm talking about during the season. So it's fine. And like we said, the host never really has a major role in this show anyway. He had a lot more talks with the lead, with Clayton, than I remember Chris Harrison having in it with any other past ones. I mean, and he sat there and he listened and, tried to offer whatever advice he could. But ultimately, I think I thought he handled himself well. I thought he did a good job as the host, and I have no problem moving forward that he's the permanent host of the show.
And there really hasn't been any commitment from anybody. So there was this thought, oh, maybe Caitlyn will win it over for Bachelorette. It's Jesse Palmer, you believe?
Yeah, no, it's him, because he even said it at the end of the show tonight that, I'm going to be on this journey with you guys when he talked about the Bachelorettes and stuff like that. So
when they teased Susie, did you have any thoughts, at the end, right as they were about to pan up, did you have any thoughts that it might be anybody else but Susie?
No, because nobody else made sense. I mean, we knew it wasn't Gabby or Rachel, obviously, and it just didn't make sense to be like, hey, here's Teddy. Like, yeah. It did not make any sense. Now, Susie still doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense in my eyes, but it made sense it's the only person he possibly could have ended up with in all this. But again, I guess now I'm thinking about it. Another question that Jesse missed is, Susie, when you watch this back and you watch what he did to Rachel and Gabby, how could you want to be with a man like this? And, she can give and I agree. It's not like he maliciously did it and this was his intent from day one, but just watching it back and seeing how poor he handled himself. Yeah. It just, you just wonder, like, God, what have these two developed over the last 4 months that's made her completely, yeah, this is my boyfriend. This is the guy I want to be with. Like,
yeah. Well, you know what? I wish I could be in Clayton's mind because, last week, the week before, he's been getting so much hate for telling the two ladies that he's been intimate with both of them. In the back of his head, he knows he's about to dump them in front of each other. So, like, clearly he's watching this all after it's all said and done. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah. And yet the whole time, any interview he's done since January, he knew he was with Susie or talking with Susie. So it was almost like, he got beat up out there and tonight and could barely talk. I mean, there wasn't anything he could say to defend himself against Gabby and Rachel because every single word out of their mouth was 100% factual and 100% true and how they felt. He couldn't do anything other than sit there and probably kind of, subtly looking at his watch, like, can we get to the part where I bring Susie out to get some sort of happy moment here? But yeah, I mean, I'm as surprised as anybody. Do I think they have a long-term future? No, but but the thing is, I'm not going to root against it and call them names or call Susie a moron for taking it. But it's just like, I don't necessarily understand it. And I don't necessarily agree with it. If I were in her position, I'd probably have more questions, but I don't know what they've talked about in the last 4 months. It's not my position. I'm on to the next season. Like, let them do whatever they're going to do. And let's, get on to the next season, which again, I'd say another big surprise of the night. The second Jesse said, I mean, I could show people my text messages, but the second Jesse said, it's not Rachel or Gabby, I knew it was an and.
You knew.
I knew it was coming. Yeah. I knew it was going to be a both. I had heard some rumblings over the last couple days about a both, and I didn't want to believe it because I was like, Joe Millionaire just did that. We just saw a show with two leads. I don't know that if they would do it, and if they did do it, is it going to be like a Caitlyn Britt situation where the guys choose? I said, there's no way they would pit them against each other. And then I was like, okay, so maybe it makes sense. But then once Jesse said that, I was like, okay, we're getting both girls, and it's going to be a full season of two women. Because as I tweeted right after the show ended, when you're 20 years into a franchise and 46 seasons in, you got to do stuff different. And for this season, we got something different that we've never seen in the history of the show. And Dave, I don't want to say this is going to happen, but knowing how producers think and knowing how in the beginning of the season these producers get together and they say and they map out certain things that they may want to happen in a storyline. Now knowing that we got two Bachelorettes all the way through, don't you think it is a possibility that there's going to be one heartthrob this season or one guy that both of these girls really like the most, and that guy is going to get an overnight with both of them? Like, ooh. I already see that storyline coming. I'm already putting myself in the producer's shoes because if I were a producer, that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
There's going to be a guy that they both like, and there's going to be a guy that this guy's torn on both of them, and he wants to see where it goes with both of them, and he doesn't want to make his decision early on in the process because then he might change his mind later. So he's going to get to the end, and he's going to have an overnight with both of them, and he's going to bang both of them. We know it's going to happen, and they're all hell's going to break loose.
And then Rachel's going to ask him, did you say you loved me so you would sleep with me? And then the world
I'm all for this double Bachelorette thing. I'm not saying that's 100% going to happen, but I'm just putting on a producer hat of knowing the way these people think. I can see a guy getting 2 overnight dates. One guy that just both girls are torn over. But the overnight, I think just in general, I think this is going to be, interesting. It's intriguing to where people are going to tune in. They're going to want to see how this works because in 46 previous seasons, we've never had a double Bachelorette where they go out the whole show from beginning to end. They are your leads. So how are group dates going to work? Is it going to be like Joe Millionaire where the group date is both of them on it? Or are they each going to have a group date where Rachel takes the guys that she's into and Gabby takes the guys that she's into, and then at some point they both obviously get a one-on-one date? Like, how are they going to do it? All this stuff, we have no idea because this show has never done this before. So that part is intriguing.
It's almost venturing into Bachelor in Paradise territory, but it's actually, when you think about it, it's it's no different than like when I was single going out with my buddy. We're going to go both meet this, a couple of girls are going to walk in and we're going to introduce ourselves and we're going to know very quickly who's into who. Now, obviously, there will be scenarios. They're going to be bringing in the brightest and the best that they can find. There'll be scenarios where there's going to be a Thomas that they're both like, hello. There's definitely, like you said, going to be those scenarios. Now, what do you know about the season moving forward? Have you heard of any locations or, because they're starting next week, right?
Yeah. Filming starts this weekend. So I don't know if it's Thursday. I don't know if it's Friday. I don't know if it's Saturday, but one of the 3 days. It's going to start filming this weekend. One thing that was interesting that appeared tonight on the Instagram, and if you started this live right after the show ended, I don't know if you saw it, they already announced the premiere date for the double Bachelorette season, and it's July 11th. We've never had a Bachelorette season start July 11th. It's always started at the end of May, beginning of June. So all this does is, and I mapped it out already, assuming this is still an 11-week show, and it goes straight into Paradise. This will film from this weekend till beginning of May. And then Paradise will film most of June like it always does. It just means Paradise is going to start later. It's going to start if you map out 11 Mondays from July 11th, the first Monday Paradise could start would be September 26th. So Paradise is basically going to run into November this year.
So we essentially are going to have 4 months off of the show, which could be, like a lot of people are saying, a little bit of a palate cleanse for the audience to kind of take a break, maybe find some hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, usually Bachelor always ends in mid-March, and usually the premiere date for Bachelorette is weekend before Memorial Day. Katie's got pushed back to June 7th, probably because they were a little late starting on. I think Katie started a week later after her, after the Final Rose. But so we'll basically get an extra 6 weeks of dead time where nothing's happening. But I don't know if that means Rachel and Gabby's season is going to film longer because there's 2 of them. I don't know what that means. It's still only 30 guys. So my guess is you're going to keep the same amount of dates. And episode 7 will be the episode before hometowns. And episode 8 will be hometown dates. But now, like, does each girl, like, how, like when Joe Millionaire did hometowns, the women went to the 2 guys' hometowns and they brought all the families to one location. If you do hometown dates for Rachel and Gabby, are you really going to give them each 4? That's 8 hometown dates we have to go over. Like, there's going to be so many questions that a lot of people have that we just don't know the answers to. But if they're each going to get 4 guys, like a normal season would on a Bachelorette, do they each get to travel to 4 hometown dates and separately, or are they going to do it like Joe Millionaire, where the guys were down to their 4 women and 8 families came to one location? I don't know. I guess we shall see. But if they have to do 4 hometown dates for each girl, and each girl has to go to 4 different locations, then filming will last a lot longer than beginning of May when it usually ends. So maybe that's why it's being pushed to July. Yeah,
there's so many extra variables that will sort of test the ladies' communication skills as far as like, are they going to have some sort of headshot board of who's calling who? I think they're probably going to have to let it play out. They're going to have to be sort of all kind of hanging out and just seeing what takes root. But yeah, for sure, there's going to be some hand-holding, long eye contact. Oh, you're with this guy now. There's so many things that happen sort of, that are unspoken that we're going to be analyzing. It's going to be quite the season.
Yeah, I think rose ceremonies you would think would go the same. It would just be if there's 16 roses to be handed out, they'll just alternate. Gabby will pick up a rose and say John, and then Rachel will pick up a rose and say Bill, and just go down the line. And they just alternate is my guess. And when Rachel gives a rose to somebody, I'm assuming that means that's who she's interested in. She's not going to be giving out a rose just to a regular guy or just to one of Gabby's guys. You wouldn't think. But again, this is so new to everybody. We just don't know anything right now in terms of how this is going to go. But as the season goes on and as I start hearing stuff, I'll fill people in on exactly, how this works and how it's going.
We totally appreciate that. And for the rare audience member that doesn't know Reality Steve, his Instagram is @RealitySteve. I'm pulling it up right now. And you've been crushing it with the reels. Everyone knows that you are the first to the scene, the first to the crime scene, and you're going to be doing double duty with the ladies this season. So definitely we look forward to hear what you find out there. Anything else you want to promote? Did I miss anything?
Nothing to promote, but I wanted to talk about your Vegas trip. How did the first off, how did the gig go in front of how did the gig go?
Oh my gosh, there's still parts of it I can't talk about because I haven't been paid yet. So I just want to make sure my check doesn't bounce. But the show went really well. I brought my fiance. I don't gamble, so I did slots. I spent $40 and I won $180. Although you like Vegas. Have you been to Absinthe, the show?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Unbelievable. It is so raunchy. It's like...
That's the one that's the raunchy X-rated one, right?
It's like Cirque du Soleil with great, like, dark comedy, and it's all in a very small tent, so you're only 40 feet away from the action. You're literally, like, dodging acrobats that are in the sky. It's unreal. You gotta go see it. Absolutely. Yeah. And then everything else was just like, by the fourth day in Vegas, we were like, get me out of Vegas. It was, the funny part was we were walking we stayed at Aria for a couple nights. And then I was like, we got to get off the strip. It was, first of all, overpriced. I was like, I just want to go to a resort with a pool. So then we booked Virgin Resort, which is just like a mile away. But we get there and the pool wasn't opening till the next weekend. And of course, we booked it with Hotel Tonight, which is no refunds. My fiance, doing the nice, Karen duties that she did, was able to still get a refund just because we were like, come on, there's no pool. All I wanted to do was sit by a pool, get some drinks and whatever. So then we ended up on our fourth night going to Mandalay Bay because they have a good resort. And we're walking into the family-friendly pool, and that's where it's so desperate how they do this, and I love it. But that's where they poach hot women to go to the nice pool. So we're walking into the pool, and they're like, "Hey, but I'm with her. I'm some chump. I look like this Canadian 7. I'm walking in kind of like the sunblock on my nose, like an idiot." And they looked me up and down, but I was like, "Well, my fiance's beautiful enough to cover my being a guy," and they still invited us. And I felt at least about 20 years too old because it was just ridiculous. It was one of those like DJ pool parties, but it was so hilarious just to people watch. But
it's the best for people watching. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning to go out because I have my annual March Madness trip. I'm always out there for the first weekend of March Madness, so I leave first thing tomorrow morning. And I was getting a kick out of your Instagram stories. I was watching those and watching you walk around the pool and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, that's right, because the pools usually don't open until mid-October. And the Virgin Hotel is the old it's the old Hard Rock. So Virgin took it over. And speaking of, you asked me earlier, I didn't answer the question. There is a rumor going on that the Virgin cruise line, the Richard Branson now cruise line, Carnival Cruise, whatever, but not Carnival Cruise, but Virgin Cruise Line the fact is they have booted people who had reservations because they said, we've gotten an offer from a network television show that basically we can't pass up. So all you people that have booked through these dates, and it's there's dates in April, they took 3 weeks of reservations and said, sorry, here's your money back. So people and that email was sent to me. It's been circulating. I don't know if that's the Bachelorette, but it certainly fits the timeline. And again, something they've never done, have a few episodes where just cast and crew takes over a whole boat. If you can do a bubble in Indian Wells, you can certainly do a bubble on a ship. Now, I can't imagine the dates would be on the ship because that would be pretty boring. Like, hey, group date, shuffleboard. What else is there? What else is there to do on a ship? But maybe it, when it docks, that's where they do the dates. Again, this is all speculation. I don't know, but there is an email circulating out there that Virgin Cruise Lines canceled 3 weeks of reservations from people who had booked cruises, and they were told, we have a television show that offered us money to broadcast on our ship. So sorry, you're shit out of luck. Here's your refund. Yeah. And it's 3 weeks in April. So.
I was telling, maybe it was Kelly Johns earlier today, that I was supposed to go in March of 2020 on the Maiden Cruise because my fiance got us free tickets through Revolve, which is like, all the cute girls, they get these sponsorships. And it was going to be a 3-day cruise from Miami to like the Bahamas and back. Just a quick little Instagram promotion. And like 2 days before the virus breaks out, it was canceled. They literally, the worst luck in the world, tried to launch a cruise ship company a week before a pandemic breaks out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took whatever couple hundred people were booked on the ship and just chucked them for the promo that they're going to be getting, because they probably don't have a full boat right now. So I think they might as well, take the PR hit. But I did hear from people that have bet on it that it's the best cruise they've ever been on. So it's supposed to be
because it's more adult cruise, right? It's not 65-year-olds on this cruise. This is more of because it's a Richard Branson thing. He's got the Virgin Hotel. He's got this is supposedly a better cruise line. And I can't imagine. I don't know the cruise line business, but I can't imagine there's any cruise line that's selling out right now.
Yeah.
Even at the tail end of COVID, hopefully, that we're in right now, I can't imagine any cruise line. So it's more about, hey, and I think the email actually even said that, we're not selling out. We have to do this because your week of cruise wasn't sold out. We don't have enough people.
Yeah, so I think it'd be a good week. They buzz down to Jamaica. They they do whatever. It'll be something.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is even confirmed, if it's a 1-episode thing, or they're literally going to be out on sea for 3 episodes, and the dates are going to be on the boat. But here's something that someone brought up to me that I didn't even think about when this came up. If they don't dock and they are just cruising for 3 weeks. 3 weeks on a boat, and the dates are on a boat, and the rose ceremony's on a boat. Who comes and gets the people that are eliminated? Like, hey, here's a dinghy, just head back to shore. Like, where do you get how do you send the people home who got eliminated at the rose ceremony?
Well,
where do they go?
I know comedians that do the cruise ship circuit have private boats that will shuffle them to each ship. So they do have, the different cruise lines do have smaller boats to get entertainers around. So I'm sure they've got the resources. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. My thought, sports here. My New England Patriots have bought they own 2 planes that are fully decked out as their premier jets. They've redone them so they have extra legroom, multimedia. I just can't for the life of me believe that The Bachelor doesn't charter planes so they can film on them. That just seems like a fun thing to do. Do you think that's even a possibility?
For travel, assuming there's no boat this season and they just do regular travel?
Yeah, like
they don't have their own plane?
Yeah, they're already flying like probably 50, 60 people, right? Why not charter at that point?
Yeah, you would think, but maybe it's just I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is cheaper to buy 120 tickets with cast and crew, or whatever. There's 100 people probably in this whole production that's traveling with them, as opposed to purchasing their own jet or purchasing because it wouldn't even be you wouldn't travel private. You would have to purchase a regular plane, like a 120 seat plane.
Or charter.
If you're going to do all your travel with one plane.
My band trip in high school chartered a plane. Like you can get a whole plane if you can fill it like at different levels. So my thought, it's always just weird when they're like rose ceremony in LA and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're in Iceland. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to see them going through TSA. I'd like to see them eating at, Cinnabon, but I guess that's just me being a little picky.
Yeah. Sometimes we've seen them when the guys or the women are walking through the airport and they have given them selfie videos and they're sitting on the plane, but it's literally, 3 to 5 seconds. We've never gotten a full, hey, on this plane, these 2 guys are talking and drama started. It's always just been like, hey, hey, we're going to Iceland or, whatever. They didn't do that this season, but in past, we've seen them walking in the terminal very briefly.
So just to speculate, how many days is normal filming? How many days, limo ceremony to last rose ceremony? Is it like a month?
8 weeks.
Because some people
7, 8 weeks.
Some people in the comment section are saying they could do a below deck style where they could literally rent out the boat and go to Jamaica. They could go to Cancun. They could go to Aruba. I mean, these are all like relatively easy places to get to. So that could be an option.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, if this cruise thing is a legit thing, and this email that's circulating is about the Bachelor buying out the cruise line, that's why I can't imagine dates going on while the boat is moving. I would just think they would just dock in a new location for each episode, and maybe go back at night and have the rose ceremony on the cruise and, out on the bow. Is that the right word?
I don't know.
Out on the deck, whatever the case may be. I would think that to me, that would make the most sense. Like, every episode, the boat just takes you to a place like Aruba or Jamaica, and that's where the actual episode is, and the boat is just kind of background filler.
Yeah,
but still gonna get promoted.
I mean, this would be great for beginning of the pandemic, but these are 3,500 to 5,000 seater boats, so I can't imagine that they would have that kind of money. But like we said, if Virgin was only half filling it, they're already probably losing money anyway. So we'll have to see how it all goes, but. Lots to speculate here. Well, look, man, I appreciate you joining us, and I want everyone to make sure to give Reality Steve a follow. And if you're new, if by any way you're new to Reality Steve, I think at this point everyone already knows you. But just in case, go give him a follow on Instagram, and also you're on TikTok now. So that's TikTok's an addicting app, man. Boy, that'll easily eat away your day if you get stuck on it.
I'll be on it as I'm waiting to get on my flight tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. The For You page. Just
my TikTok is like treasure hunts and then butt and then some archaeology. They're looking at dinosaur bones. It's amazing some of the random stuff that's on there. But anyway, I know yours has been taken off. But dude, thanks again for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And enjoy the break between seasons.
I know, definitely. Thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, take care, man. All right, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching this replay of my conversation with Reality Steve. And, if you like this content and you like the live stream last night, keep hitting the like button. I really appreciate all of your loyalty and all the new people that are out there. And we're going to keep improving our technology on my end, and we're going to keep on trying to bring you guys these conversations in real time. So thanks so much. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye now.